We should bring back our hostages back to our homeland. And the second thing is that Hamas will not have any military capability. Ceasefire is not a solution, it's a temporary solution. First of all, I think that as a Jewish people that suffer from the Holocaust and suffered for many, many years, we have a responsibility. We are searching for peace, we're looking forward to get a peace. We care about the Palestinians, we don't have anything against them. In the contrary, I think even before October 7th, the idea, and that was a big failure of us, what's happened in October 7th was a really, really traumatic in the life of the state of Israel. Hamas is not part of the solution, it's part of the problem. In any war that's happened in the world since, I think, 500 years ago, the level of uninvolved killing, the Gaza war was the lowest of the lowest.
With me right now here on the Free Press Journal studio is Mr. Kobbi Shoshani, who is the Consul-General of Israel, representing Israel in India in 4 states, in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, and Gujarat. I'm pleased to welcome you, Mr. Shoshani. Thank you so much for joining us. It's become a regular thing now for us to read headlines on the Middle East conflict. Israel is very much at the center of all this. The ceasefire agreement had brought us a lot of hope that things are drawing to an end, but it doesn't seem like that the conflict is over. We have seen fresh pictures of Israeli hostilities in Gaza and the fatalities caused by Israeli strikes. Can you give us, from your perspective, an understanding of what is the status of the conflict, in your opinion?
I think that after October 7th, it was very, very clear, definitely to the citizens of Israel, and I think that I make it very clear at that point and afterwards during the year and a half that since October 7th, that there are 2 targets of the war. We should bring back our hostages back to our homeland. And the second thing is that Hamas will not have any military capability, which means that right now in this stage, we haven't received completely the 2 targets that we are put to ourselves. And it cost time, it cost injuries, it cost economy burden over the citizen of Israel. But I can assure, and I think that this is very true, that we should bring peace to the Middle East, and to bring peace to the Middle East, which means that Hamas will not have any military capability. We will not tolerate any actions that was happened to the state of Israel, dramatic events with babies that...
But haven't you already made that point? Haven't you already achieved that? Because Israel has been constantly claiming that Hamas is weakened. And now it's time to perhaps, wind up these operations. But then it started again. It seems there is also an offshoot now, because Israel is hindering the reaching of aid to Gaza, which apparently has also provoked other outfits like the Houthis, who are out to fight for the cause, or who are ready to fight for the cause of Gaza. And there is an Iran-backed militia which is also active now against the United States. So it's again become a multi-front war. Where do you think this goes from here?
You can blame me in a lot of things, but you cannot blame me that being naive. I'm not naive. Hamas still has a capability, very much less than it was before October 7th. Definitely the destruction of Israel is still in his aim, and we would like to prevent another circle of violence. For that, and I think that everybody's, and definitely the United States administration, the new administration, by the way, also the old administration, understand that, addicted to ceasefire is not a solution, is a temporary solution. And I think that we should do the utmost. First of all, not because of us, because of the Palestinian demands, by the way, Arab countries, moderate Arab countries as well, that they understand that the more Hamas going to stay there, it's going to be another circle and circle. And I think that still we have hostages. We ask them to release all of them right away. They didn't do so. And that's the reaction. I think that they get a warning even from the President of the United States. And they ignored this way or another. I think this is part of the pushback and reaction to this not bringing back our boys.
But don't you
back
agree?
home.
Apparently, the hostages that were kept by the Hamas are far better maintained and they're in far better condition. They were well taken care of. The ones that you have received. Then the ones released by Israel. Is that true? That's what international media is reporting.
Listen, again, I'm not innocent. If you want to listen to Al Jazeera, it's okay with you. I don't believe to any words that I saw the faces of, some of the people who were released from the prison, the tunnels, the jail, whatever you can call it. It's not a jail, it's underground. They reminding me faces from the Holocaust. I saw the starvation in my eyes. I saw the evidence that they spoke about it when they were released. And more than that, I know the stories that was not published yet. We want to give them, the time and, of course, the privacy for this events. Some of them being tortured in an unbelievable way.
I want to get some clarifications from you because, like you said, there are narratives floated by certain publications. So here is an opportunity for you to tell us, is it true that Mr. Netanyahu has to maintain his position and he has to remain in the saddle if he is out of his job, then it can be big trouble for him. So in order for him to stay in power, a lot of things are being done. The hostilities are being continued because that is the only way he can stay in power. What would you say to those who are reporting this?
I'm a diplomat, but I'm also a citizen of the state of Israel. And I have to tell you in a very open way that the dispute, if to continue the war or to bring into a ceasefire and bring back the part of the hostages, is not a political issue at all. It's a very important and strategic question. In my point of view, people try to color it with the political issues, but I think that there is a really hard dispute in Israel internally.
Yeah,
What to do? But I don't think it's come from a political perspective. It's come from
the economy has taken a beating, you agree. The country is not exactly in great shape under Mr. Netanyahu's regime.
I will surprise you also with this point as well. I think that even during a war, and I don't think that there is a precedent like that in any war in the world that taken more than 1.5 years. The Israeli economy growth was 1.4% in the middle of a war. When the airport was closed for a period of times, when international flights were there, and still the economy is blooming in 1.4. And what we're expecting in the next months and years, that is going to be a boom.
But what about your credit rating? As per international reports, those who watch credit ratings, Israel's credit rating is far from being desirable at this point of time. It is one of the important parameters of an economy.
When you put into the formula, you put a lot of layers and elements. There is an economy burden, there is a military burden, there is a civil burden, there is, of course, public relations burden internationally, especially in some countries which are important for us. And when you put everything in a formula, and you put in the other hand the safety and the importance of normal life in Israel for the Israeli civilians, you have to put it into a formula and you have to understand what is better and what is worse. But I think that I know that, besides the words outside, people asking Israeli technology right now, and the war brought into the world fantastic innovation, not only in the military field, also in the military field. You can see what is the amount of demand we have in Europe right now for our military capabilities. And I think that this is very, very important to understand that the economy, which I mentioned before, 1.4%, expanded during the war. In fact, it was unprecedented.
I'm really sure, Mr. Shoshani, the war has done you good, because let me quote some facts for you. The fact is that Iran has now expressed solidarity. Russia and Iran are now on the same side. They were never friends. They were actually potentially rivals. But with this war, you have brought these two countries together. Then you add China to the mix. What do you get? It seems as if you have created these new alliances which are getting powerful, and China is getting powerful, and it's to your detriment to create these new equations between countries who were to begin with rivals, but now coming together up against Israel and US?
It's a very good question. I will answer to you in a very open way.
Yes, please.
I think that in the beginning, when the Houthis closed the Bay of Eden and it was a blockade over the international area, all these countries were very, very happy. But when they understand that it's cost them a price for shipments, also to China and also for others, and I think that what's happened in Syria and what's happened in the axis of evil between Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon, which was almost completely collapsed after investment of $20 billion Iranian money into Syria and Lebanon. This is something that I think it's a big success of the war. I don't think that when Yahya Sinwar, when he started the war in October 7th, he would expected that something like that will happen to the Middle East. See what's happened in the Middle East? All the Middle East
Are you claiming that the falling of Assad in Syria is a good development? Because again, if you look at the fine print, if you really look at the overall picture, what do you see? You see the real beneficiary of Assad falling. Is it really Israel or is it Turkey? Because Turkey is anti-Israel, is more sympathetic to Palestinians. So, at the moment, what I'm concerned and what I'm trying to understand is that by quoting Syria as an example of how you managed to have Assad fall, have you not benefited? Have you really benefited from it? Or is there a now advantage Turkey in all of this?
Again, I have to be frank with you. I'm not sure that everybody in the world know that the butcher from Damascus going to fall down within 2 days. Nobody knows yet. Definitely in Israel. Then and it's too early to understand what is if it's good or bad. It's too early to estimate the what's going to be in Syria, whether it's good or bad. It's very difficult for me to predict. Definitely, what Assad did, and people sometimes forget it. And that's the reason they call him the butcher from Damascus. He killed so many Arab people.
No, that is fine. But now
No, it's not fine.
Now there will be a Turkey-backed government in Syria, which is not going to work to your advantage.
I think that in Turkey, we can see a change that's in my perspective very, very soon. I think that they practical eventually in the end of the day, they understand that they would like to promote themselves, their economy. And I think that, of course, they're important player in the region. And I think that eventually they are smart enough not to make mistakes like Yahya Sinwar and, by the way, Hassan Nasrallah made in Lebanon when he started the war in October 8th.
Yeah. I want to ask you then, I want to come to the article that you have written for us as well, where you do talk about redeveloping Gaza. And you, in fact, even say in an article that Mr. Trump has reneged on his promise. Initially, he said all the Palestinians, all the Gazans will be rehabilitated. Now he wants to make it a Riviera. What is your vision, the Israeli government's vision of what happens to Gaza, what happens to the Palestinian people who are displaced?
First of all, I think that as a Jewish people that suffer from the Holocaust and suffered for many, many years, we have a responsibility. And we are searching for peace. We're looking forward to get a peace. We care about the Palestinians. We don't have anything against them. In the contrary, I think even before October 7th, the idea, and that was a big failure of us, not only intelligence failure, also a conceptual failure, that we thought that to give and to give and to give and to promote and is going to bring peace to the Middle East. It was a failure, but the basic approach has not been changed. I mean, I think that our interest is to the people of Gaza and to the Palestinian, and it's all going to be better life. That's our interest. It's not because I think that this is the right thing to do as well, but it's also for our benefits, because if they have a good life, we will have a good life. And for that, right now in Gaza Strip, you don't have enough place, you don't have enough water supply, both good water and electricity, and in order to reconstruct all this strip, you need to remove or to move or transfer for temporary time some of the cities. You cannot do it when it's there, when you have a security elements there. I think that the Hamas is not part of the solution. It's part of the problem.
So you're saying you're not done demolishing and terminating the Hamas, and the work is still in progress. And that is why you cannot start the rebuilding process now. Did I understand that correctly?
First of all, it's a plan of the President Trump. And I think that in the Arab world, they started to understand the potential. And yesterday, a few hours ago, I read an article that it was a report in one of the Egyptian newspaper that Egypt agreed. I don't know if it's true or not. I just read it in my mobile when I came here, that willing to receive 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza Sinai, in Sinai Desert, from Gaza, in order to make the plan of President Trump available.
Yeah.
You cannot change or build up a new city, Riviera, whatever it's going to be. I think that it can be a Riviera for the benefit without two elements, without right now people there, and second thing with the Hamas.
I want to ask you one question at a very human level, and I would appreciate a frank answer to this. I don't want to use the G word that a lot of journalists are using on Israel, but I do want to ask you that this kind of precedent that has been set by this war, the fact that so many civilians were killed, it sets a precedent that your indiscriminate killing. Of course, Israel has always said that human shields are being used, and therefore you had no option to get to Hamas. But this sets such a wrong precedent. If the other countries were to do that, where will we be? The entire world goes up in flames.
You asked me to be honest with you, and I
Yes.
will ask you to be honest as well. And I give you an advice: don't read too much Al Jazeera. No. I will answer. I will answer to you. I make it in a funny way, but I'll try to make it in a.
It's not about Al Jazeera. My observation.
No. It's okay. When you read, sometimes when you read, definitely Al Jazeera is a code name for misinformation and disinformation. I think you get a completely different picture, and I have to look at it in a completely different way. In any war that's happened in the world since, I think, 500 years ago, the level of uninvolved killing, the Gaza war was the lowest of the lowest. The lowest of the lowest. And the answer for that...
You're saying that you have minimized collateral damage.
Yeah, there is.
Collateral damage that...
No, by percentage in the wars in the war. I'm not talking about Iraq in 1991. I'm not talking about other wars that happened. I'm not talking about Ukraine. I'm talking about percentage in general. By percentage, it's very, very clear. And I tell you why. Because we, as a Jewish people, think that this is something that it's part of our DNA. We sometimes, and I tell you with my knowledge, yes, and really knowledge because I was a soldier in the Israeli army. Sometimes when there is an airplane in the air and you see kids around, you see families, in the last moment, he's not using his bombs. This is part of our DNA, not because what Al Jazeera are going to say yes or no, because this is part of our DNA. And you have to understand the Israeli, no, we are very unhappy when we've heard that uninvolved are being killed. I tell you in a very open way.
There are reports even as we speak, just before I walked into this room, of images of lined up dead bodies from Israeli strikes. I want to end with one last question. It is very clear to the world that all is not well within Israel, because just today, few hours ago, it's reported that your internal security head, Mr. Ronen Bar, has been fired by Mr. Netanyahu. So there is a sense of mistrust within the government mechanism in Israel at the moment, and not everybody is on the same page about how this war is being conducted.
As you probably know, I'm a civil servant, but I have to tell you in a very frank way. And it's not even a secret. What's happened in October 7th was a really, really traumatic in the life of the state of Israel. And people define it as traumatic as almost the Holocaust, which for us was terrible. It brought us into the historical nerves. They touch our historical nerves when we see beheaded kids, when we see women being raped, complete families were burned. We saw these hostages, some of them Holocaust survivors. It was a very traumatic in Israel. Then I think that the failure of the intelligence failure, it's not something that it's a secret to speak about it, was very, very, very clear. Then the decision of the government come not because of untrust. It was a failure. Now, what's going to be because of that? It's a very political question, which I prefer not to enter to that. But I think that there is a basic thing, people, by the way, the chief of staff of the army was resigned, a few months ago.
Yeah.
As well. And people take responsibility about the failure of October 7th. Of course, the victim.
The internal security chief being fired, I guess I'll take your point. But then for you to, again, make a reference of 7th of October as if that is when the war started is something globally many would contest and say it is not a war that was actually started on 7th of October. It goes back much before that. So, yes, I do understand that, that's an important turning point, and that is what triggered the war. We'd have to leave it at that, but thank you so much, Mr. Shoshani, for giving us your views, for taking all my questions, and for being frank with us. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.